All right, you're welcome back. The journey to this presidential election scheduled for February the 16th has been a long one. Now, this will be the country's sixth since 1999, and it will also be the 20th year of our nascent democracy.
Yeah. Now, since independence, Nigeria has had brief interludes of democratic rule and have been categorized under the First to Fourth Republic. First Republic between 1963 to 1966. Second Republic, 79 to 83, Third Republic, 92 to 93, and then Fourth Republic, 1999 until now.
Yes, and the country's present democratic dispensation is traced back to May 1999, following the death of military dictator General Sani Abacha in 1998. His successor, General Abdulsalam Abubakar, initiated the transition which heralded Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999 and saw the military hand over power to a democratically elected civilian government after 16 years of consecutive military rule. Now, Nigeria has had elections in 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, and of course, the much anticipated 2019 general election. But this year, according to many people, will be the most keenly contested one.
Oh, yes, the most keenly contested, because a lot of Nigerians will be involved in the process to be voted for, because since our democratic dispensation, this is the first time we're having the largest number of people contesting
about 73
for president. Exactly.
Presidential candidates.
Exactly.
What
All right.
will the ballot look like?
What will it look like? It's really interesting. We'll wait to see how it's going to be tomorrow when INEC rolls out the ballot papers for people to see. Now, a political analyst, Bola Oba, joins us now in the studio to take a look at how far so far. Good morning, Bola. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
I almost wanted to sing good morning.
Good. Well, yeah. we are still in Nigeria, so let's go back to what we have today as a democracy. Stands on the foundation. A lot of people have said that our founding fathers laid before independence and all of that. Different things have been blamed for why we're still here. We are supposed to have gone past this level long ago. But let's go back. Let's start from the founding fathers, the Azikiwes, Awolowo, the Ahmadu Bellos, and the others who participated in giving us the independence. Would you say that they laid a very sound foundation for democracy, for a country to thrive?
If one would want to romanticize the past, you know, sometimes, and there's a natural tendency of human beings to want to romanticize the past, you know, make it look as though those were the golden days. The truth is that they did not lay any better foundation than we have in now. The political movement, the history of political movement in Nigeria was golden. Was golden because you had them from different parts of Nigeria agitating together under the leadership of a Lagos man, Abat Macaulay, for independence.
Yes.
And if you really look at the political history of Lagos tells it all. In 1914, before his death, it was lawyer Shapara Williams who was agitating against the amalgamation of Nigeria, believing that the southern region of Nigeria was going to be feeding or taking care of the northern region of Nigeria. Shapara Williams passed on the baton, was handed to Abat Macaulay. Abat Macaulay nurtured a young Igbo man who in every material particular was as Yoruba as my sister. He spoke Yoruba fluently. He named his children, his eldest children, he named them, gave them Yoruba names.
Of course, you're talking about Nnamdi Azikiwe.
Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe was actually the colossus of Lagos politics when Abba Macaulay passed on. Obafemi Awolowo was a reporter reporting the activities of Nnamdi Azikiwe. But along the line, I'm a Yoruba man, I should have a degree of liberty to say it. Along the line, Awolowo facilitated or Awolowo orchestrated the birth of tribal politics. Egbe Omo Oduduwa was formed. Egbe Omo Oduduwa transmutated to Action Group. From thence on, and I'm using old English from thence on,
The Elizabethan. It's great.
we have found out on our tribal lines. I still tell people that the elections tomorrow will have some funny tribal coloration.
So you agree with our earlier guest, Fumi Komolafe, who said, you know, some base sentiments still guide our elections.
Because
now
my
it's
sister,
a good thing. It seems to be a good thing that you've actually been able to diagnose where we missed it. You know, that at a point, it didn't really matter. We missed
it from our founding fathers.
It really didn't matter where you came from, because you had a situation where Sakwara Williams, you know, handed over to Herbert Macaulay to a protege, Nnamdi Azikiwe.
Nnamdi Azikiwe then led an era where Ernesto Colley, you know, people from all parts of Nigeria, the gentleman who eventually became the Odemo of Ishara, they came together, irrespective of the tribal lining.
So at that time, Nigeria was actually a nation.
Lagos Youth Movement transmutated to Nigerian Youth Movement, and these were pool of people from different parts of Nigeria.
So the time you're talking about now, Nigeria was actually a nation, not a mere geographical expression.
Ironically, it was the quest and the agitation for Nigeria to be a nation that united all these forces. Just when we were smelling nationhood, titular nationhood, flag and anthem nationhood, just when we were smelling nationhood, to your tent, O Israel.
And here we are.
And here we are. And so some people may want to romanticize our founding fathers. The truth is that the sheep hasn't fallen too far away from
the old block.
Okay. I say that.
And the
good thing is that you speak better grammar than me.
No, I don't. I'm only a learner. Now that we know where we sort of like derailed, or where the train went off the track, the question then is, over the years, we have tried to bring the train back on track without really, gaining a lot of traction, or without succeeding, if you like. But so far, since 1999, since we sort of like got back on track, it's 20 years down the line. And in assessing the journey so far, would you say that we have made progress?
I believe that it is not too exuberant for us to celebrate the fact that this is the longest span of democratic ride we've ever had historically. The longest.
20 years.
20 years. Because the previous republics, the First Republic, which was 63 to 66, indeed, let's be generous with the First Republic and say, you know what, from independence in 1960, before even we got the Republican status in October 1st, 1963, from independence in 1960 to 1966, 6 years.
So exactly.
Exactly. Sorry. I don't know why I get comical. I don't know why I get comical when I get...
No, you are a happy person, so it reflects like that. Let's
and you know it's Friday.
79 to 83, 4 years and 3 months.
Yeah.
You know? The inchoate but aborted Third Republic, and I'm choosing my word carefully because we had a special arrangement in the Third Republic. It was the Hakika, a military head of state, who ultimately, after agitation against his Maradonic moves, handed over the baton to an unelected ceremonial...
Decided to step aside.
Yeah.
When he stepped aside, before the chief of defense staff ultimately told the gentleman 3 months after, I'm going to be looking at the Olumorok.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's see. Now, we have to celebrate the fact...
at the time.
I like the fact that you helped me a lot to put names to this thing.
Yes.
I just want to enjoy myself.
No, you're enjoying yourself,
3
I can
months.
see. But let's go back to, you have even talked about the issue of the military. If you see, even at the elections right now, warnings from the military, from the police, anybody who does this and does that will be seriously dealt with. And you know, the tone of all of those kind of warnings, trying to ensure or trying to give assurance of the fact that the security is up, you know, on their game, tells you a great deal that we still have that element of the military psyche in the system.
How old are we? How old are we with flag and anthem independence?
Well, since 1960.
59 now.
59,
You'll be
October 1 will
It'll be
be
59 this year.
20 plus 4 plus 6. 30.
That's 30 years.
30. So, thus far, 30 years out of 59 has just been democratic rule.
So it's almost equal.
It's almost equal.
It's almost equal.
And as it is now, let's be honest with ourselves. Even in the way we conduct ourselves, supposedly in civic and civilian circumstances, our psyche has been overly militarized. We're too very aggressive. We've been to some other countries, not only in the abroad of the Oyinbos, you know, even in the neighboring abroad here of, you know, Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana. You know, you see the difference in the way people conduct themselves. So,
but the same countries at this time, around 66, we were actually on the same page as far as military you know, interregnum and military incursion into democratic process is concerned. But they seem, according to what you're saying, they have recovered from that militarization of the national psyche. What do you think is holding? What is holding us back?
You are factually right.
What's holding us back?
But the only thing you've not done is the fact that Nigerians, we are so good at soaking anything we want to soak so much. That's why we go to Harvard, we show them. We go to MIT, we show them.
Everywhere.
Oxford, we show them. We just, once we're predisposed to doing something, we do it so crazily. And maybe because of size too. And the innate fact that we always see ourselves competing against the other people. And when I say the other people, the tribal line comes in again. So, Mama Sheswebe, don't go, you know, to interpret it. Don't be too polite, don't be too jelly, because you'll be taken advantage of by the next person. So if you're coming to Lagos, Lagos is like the military boot camp. If you're coming to Lagos, I was born in Lagos. And the neighborhood where I was born.
But what would you say? What would you say is the role of the military in leadership and politics, that the way we have it in Nigeria now?
Unfortunately, our military history has been one of the most perverted, one of the worst on the face of the earth. Countries
Those are very strong words.
Oh, yes. And I have no apologies to the military. I just want to use it as an opportunity to encourage the present members of the military to be a bit more sober, a bit more thoughtful, a bit more engaging, a bit more creative. Military transformed Brazil. Military transformed Argentina, Chile. Military transformed Indonesia. Military, I can go on and on and on.
Singapore.
Our own, let's even take military out of Singapore because of Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah.
Now, I've mentioned countries the size of Nigeria, some even bigger than Nigeria, that the incursion of military into their polities ultimately gave them traction in the area of infrastructural and scientific development. Brazil. Nigeria's military defense, this thing in Kaduna, where we are supposed to be manufacturing weapons, now was established the same year with the Brazilian version. The Brazilian version produces aircraft, ship, frigate now. Ours, we produce furniture furniture. I want to say it like an uncle, an illiterate uncle in Mushin will say it.
You mean not even the rail tracks where military is not?
God bless you. Because in some countries like Indonesia, in some countries like Chile, in some countries like Argentina, allowing for their deficits of development in the area of politics. Look at the level of infrastructure that the military gave them. And to think that in a country like Pakistan, even under ostensible democratic governance, a country like Pakistan, the powerhouse of the Pakistani economy is still the military. Perverted though, but at least transformational in some respect. What has the Nigerian military given us apart from the road from Apapa Port to Ojo in Ibadan, Lagos Ibadan, and Third Mainland, which Third Mainland which started under Shagari, that Babangida finished.
Was concluded by Babangida. Now, the national chairman, if I have the permission to quote him, of the APC, made a statement not too long ago that Nigeria... No, we're not discussing politics. No, because of this military thing that you talk about, that Nigeria's future does not lie in the hands of the military. In other words, of course, responding to the endorsements here and there by different ex-military generals and all of that.
Of his own candidate.
Not just his own candidate, of different candidates. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this discourse is really not about the military. It's about how have we fared so far in our democratic evolution? Have we? Is it just civilian rule that we're having, or are we really having democratic rule? Like some would say that it's just civilian and not. We haven't come to that place of democracy yet.
Let me get a bit cheeky, like I usually get a bit cheeky, when I'm on your side. We're having an hybridization of militocracy.
Okay.
Retired General Muhammadu Buhari is now president because when he was elected and he got the people's mandate, he decided to pack aside his generalship. Even Atiku was once in the paramilitary.
He was a uniformed man. But we're not talking about...
in the customs. We're not talking about all of those.
And I'm saying that the two main candidates now, they are not too... when the apple falls and the tree is standing and the apple rolls a bit, but you can steal from where you are picking the apple, see?
Let's leave all those candidates out so that we don't, we don't incur all of those. Now, with the way we are, you were talking about psyche earlier on and all of that. Some politicians and even some leaders still blame colonialism on the state of things today.
It is idiotic. It shows lack of creativity.
We have to be mindful of our language.
You know why I'm saying that? The same history that produced Nigeria, the same colonial setting that produced Nigeria, indeed, worse colonial settings produced countries like Brazil, produced countries, and I want to, even China. People should go and read what happened to China under Japan before and during the Second World War. The decimation, the utter brutalization of the psyche of the people. You understand what I'm saying? So if at this juncture we are still back finger pointing, the phraseology.
Yeah, but the concept of neocolonialism is there, where some even in the academia they said that there's after the colonialism the way we know it, there's a neocolonialism which is certainly is a hold on the economy and social fabric.
They even say it's a worse form of
colonialism or colonization.
Oh yes, because we are in a game of survival. And those who once colonized you with jackboats are now colonizing you with culture, with stratagems regarding your economy. But if you have a leadership college
that recognizes
that
this?
is worthy of the title of leadership. Recognition is part of, you see, there's a proverb in Yoruba that says that the day a madman looks at the mirror and says, this my hair is unkempt, that is the day the healing process begins. Essentially in most parts of Africa, and worse still in Nigeria, that is by the sheer accident of our colonial history and population, the biggest country in Africa, we have not gotten up to a point where, let me give you a typical example. I have perfected, in the last 15 years of my life, I have perfected a business model that is, I can arrogantly look at anybody from anywhere in the world. I discovered, because I lived in the diaspora, I discovered that there is nothing we want to solve. There is no problem we want to solve in Nigeria that Nigerians are not solving in the diaspora.
In NASA, everywhere you can.
Anywhere. No problem Nigeria wants to solve. Indeed, there is no major development in any country in the world that you don't have Nigerians directly or indirectly involved.
So let me go ask you the question I asked earlier. What exactly is holding us back? How do we begin this healing process?
Okay.
Have we gotten to the place where we look in the mirror and say, this hair is scattered?
Your question now takes me surgically to the point I was trying to make. And you know what? Because I accidentally met a Nigerian returnee from the diaspora about 10 years ago, who studied automotive mechatronics in America, practiced automotive mechatronics in America for about 25 years. I wanted, as a broadcaster like you...
automotive mechatronics?
Automotive mechatronics, modern vehicles are computerized.
Okay.
Modern vehicles are computers on wheels. So the old type mechanics can no longer work on them. So I was doing a documentary on him, just like you. I was a broadcaster. You know my background. I just suddenly discovered that this guy, Nigeria needed minimum of 3,000 of him. And I looked him straight in the face and I said, you know what, let's start a training school. Replicate yourself in young Nigerians. Today, it is one of the best-known brands in automotive mechatronics training in Nigeria, with 400 plus of my alumni running their own businesses across the country, average of 6 employees. I was standing in front of the DG, Director General of the Nigerian Automotive Design and Development Council, day before yesterday, and I was telling him that I even have the school online. He didn't believe it. He was shocked. You see, using Nigerian in the diaspora, that business model got so successful 6 years ago, I decided I was going to replicate it in building and construction. You know what? I started upping from Dubai to London to South Africa to beg Nigerians who are doing well in building and construction. Many Nigerians don't know that the Terminal 3 that they're landing in Dubai, one of the senior engineers who built it, indeed, he was one of those who maintained it for 6 years. Ugochukwu Nto was Nigerian. Nigeria, still functioning at the highest level of civil engineering in Dubai. I went around, I convinced these guys, we started a building and construction training school. Today, I have about 5 young Nigerians that I'm shipping to Dubai to go and work at the level of supervisory in construction. There's no problem we want to solve.
So it means if you are doing this much, then the government can do even much more.
Because finally, because ultimately, the resuscitation of China, the resuscitation of India has been a focused policy by the government to encourage their nationals across the world who were solving problems from people. You don't necessarily have to come home and leave if you're afraid of security. But you know what? These are investment opportunities and your title will be guaranteed. Nigerians in the diaspora will solve the problems of Nigeria, but we don't have governments that are focused.
When you even say that Nigerians in diaspora will solve the Nigerian problem, and many people would say that the Nigerian problem is an environmental one, because those diasporans, when or if they really take up the offer to come back home, and they have all the expertise and what it takes to turn the economy around, to turn Nigeria around, somehow there is a stifling there's something that just
Adios.
is not...
No, you are going in the way, but you know what?
There is something about the system that does not, that will not allow people to thrive. Okay, a policy issue.
And you know what? What is the relevance of a government? The relevance of a government is so, you know what? We've been in this morass for too long. This is our new policy package that we allow both those who are local and those who are outside there, who we know are genuinely going to take pride apart from making money. When I go, I'm flying to England next week. I just started a cooperative amongst Nigerians. I started this building and construction training school, and I discovered that the things that they could make young Nigerians do after training, because building and construction is very expensive, I couldn't be going to the banks to generate money, 30% interest. I went to England and told Nigerians, come together, form a cooperative, pay £100 every month, control it yourself. They will send project proposals to you from Nigeria. Once you vet it, you have engineers, you have doctors, you have lawyers. Once you vet it and it's right, they will do those projects. You will grow equity in it. You know why I'm saying what I'm saying? Don't come and help Nigeria for altruism. Come and help Nigeria because it's a land of golden business opportunities for you. But the policy has to be right. Okay, a man is driving that.
Okay, not for altruistic.
How much more a government can do?
Not for altruistic reasons.
But
can we throw patriotism in the mix?
You know what?
Yeah.
The good thing about patriotism is the rainbow color face of patriotism. Patriotism's pendulum swings from ultra-altruism to share innovative value creation. I will swing my own pendulum of patriotism in the direction of value creation and rewarding creativity.
And prosperity for everyone. Because the country stands to benefit.
China has done it. India has done it. Even Pakistan is doing it. Nigeria has too much human wealth. Too much human assets, both in the diaspora and in Nigeria.
Yeah, well, what do you think it would take to galvanize all these human elements, human wealth together? What do you think it would take, or how challenging would it be to bring these people together to make it work?
The irony of the whole circumstance as we speak is that the role of government, not as a provider, not as a solution provider, but the policy door that will galvanize it, as in galvanize. That policy door must be seen to be properly agile by tidy government policy. This government has started
open regardless of who you know, where you come from, what your religious inclination
and irrespective of your tribe,
sex or gender and what have you. It doesn't matter. The fact is, you are a Nigerian who has something
to bring to the table. You said your sex and gender now. A young Nigerian who comes from a family that is now labeled by the United Kingdom government as the brightest family in the United Kingdom. That young Nigerian,
the Dafinona family?
That young Nigerian, from Edo, that young Nigerian, she has been honored by Her Majesty the Queen. Today, she drives across Europe, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, passion in young ladies. You know what? Amongst those who are going to be constituted as the board of directors of the cooperative I just told you I started in England, are female engineers who are working on projects in the Greater London area, projects of 70, 100, 200 million pounds. The total, I was telling, when I was galvanizing them to do this, when I was doing the roadshow and I was telling them, I said, you know what, the total valuation of Fourth Mainland Bridge that was done not too long ago, 22 kilometers will be the longest bridge in the whole of Africa. Total valuation of Fourth Mainland Bridge, came to around 1.4 trillion naira. The people in United Kingdom alone last year sent home. United Kingdom, not Republic of Ireland inclusive, no France, no Germany, no America, no Canada, no Australia. The people in United Kingdom alone last year sent home 3.2 billion pounds. That is more.
And if you were to take in the general diaspora funding that comes into Nigeria,
that's
over $20 billion,
$20 billion
every year, and that's so much we can do.
That's so much.
Now let's even look at the fundamental question.
We were supposed to be on this. How did we get here?
I don't know how we got here, but the recruitment process of our leadership, is there something fundamentally wrong with that? Or if it is fine the way it is, how can we even improve on it?
It is not fine the way it is. It is just that liberal democracies tend to manifest a degree of sclerosis. You know sclerosis. You want to pick this cup, but as your hand is going to pick this cup,
it just goes in a different
way.
but ultimately, a sclerotic person will.
You come to it.
That is characteristic of liberal democracies, and that is why if you juxtapose China with India, you will see China pacing up with development because it's centrally controlled. And China will seem to fumble, and India will seem to fumble, and you know, now, when China seems to be losing traction in GDP rise, India is growing. I am not too disturbed because as a Democrat and somebody who believes that an atmosphere of freedom encourages creativity, I know ultimately we will get it right. But as at this juncture, the picture is looking very not too encouraging.
Okay, well, we have to leave it here now. Certainly, there's a lot of work for all Nigerians to do. Be interested in the system and to change the system.
It's amazing how you talk about politics, and then you move on to economy, because they
all go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Like you say, it's not only necessarily about altruism, because there has to be something in for everyone. And that is the motivation.
I was in a church. Yes. I will add up with this quickly. Yes. I was in a church about 4 months ago in London trying to encourage them to invest in Nigeria.
Okay, we'll have to leave it
because they will make money. And somebody was trying to antagonize, and I said, you know what? You must remember that your children must realize that God, who destined them to be born by Nigerian parents, also gave them a market of 200 million people. Exactly. And it is not by accident that the richest black man in the world is a Nigerian.
He's a Nigerian.
The size of the
Thank you so much. Thank you
very much.